Welcome back to the Cycle Starters podcast. I'm your host, Heather Rebecca Wilson, and today I am so thrilled to welcome Dasha Barsukova, a Vision Doula, speaker, and founder of Shkoda, the mystery school for sacred rebellion. Born in St. Petersburg, Russia, Dasha has a fascinating personal story that intertwines with powerful ancestral trauma and healing journeys. Today, we'll explore how Dasha helps changemakers birth their vision and purpose into the world, not through burnout, but through life force energy, soul connection, and embodied magic. With her unique blend of psychology, marketing, neuroscience, and mystical traditions, she guides leaders to access their highest potential through what she calls sober, altered states. We'll dive deep into ancestral healing, particularly around money trauma, and discover how these patterns live in our cellular system. Dasha's own Russian ancestry includes powerful stories of survival during blockades and extreme hardship that have shaped her understanding of generational patterns. From her current base in Paris to her work with her mastermind and Shkoda Mystery School, we'll learn how she's transforming her own ancestral patterns and helping others stop humaning and start magicking. Get ready for a conversation that bridges science and mysticism, strategy and embodiment, and purpose with pleasure. So before we get into today's conversation, I do have a favor to ask. If you are loving the content that we are creating here on the Cycle Starters podcast, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. It really helps the algorithm get our episodes in front of more viewers. So thank you in advance for that. So without further ado, let's welcome Dasha to the show. Hey, sis, how are you?
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm
My
so good.
goodness.
So grateful to be here. So excited for this conversation.
I am so excited too. So, where do we begin? I think we begin with your ancestral background, your blood ancestors. So, what can you share with us about that?
Yeah. So I think the theme we're weaving is money. So I'll keep it with the story I shared with you and I share openly with others because on my deep excavation of my money shit, also, can we swear on here? I have
Yes,
a potty mouth. Okay, good.
I do
The
too.
other
It's
day,
okay. It's okay.
I did an interview and they warned me. They were like, do not swear. And then I tried, but I couldn't. And I was going to ask you and I forgot.
That's okay.
So on the excavation of my money shit, it was like a personal journey, but because I'm guided intuitively with
Mm-hmm.
everything I do in my work, hence the mystery school where I teach people intuition and magic and how to magic through life instead of human. I was magicking through life and we're going to touch a little bit on my placements, but I'm a Virgo double Scorpio. So I love taboo and it just pulls me in and money pulled me in and I was so resistant. I'm like, oh, I don't want to look at money. That's so shallow. I don't want to be one of those coaches that teaches on money and just makes money from money. But my intuition was guiding me and I do everything from my higher self. So I couldn't not. It's just, I was trying, but I couldn't. And the way I dove into money was through somatics. Yeah, through embodiment, through understanding what is living in your cellular memory, what is living in your body, what trauma. And as I was diving into this, because I was channeling a course, I started to dive deeper and I read lots of books and studied, and I came across money trauma. It's an actual thing. There's psychologists that study money trauma. And I was shocked. And whenever I tell people this, people are shocked. People don't know about this. We don't give enough energy because we have so much shame and then so much projection that if you're looking at money, if you're talking about money, then you're greedy, then you're a bad person, then you're money hungry, like all these things. If you want money, it's bad. If you have money, it's bad. People don't even talk about this. So I was surprised. There's actual psychologists that specialize in this. So I was like, wow, I'm hitting on something because I was just intuitively thinking, oh, I'm going to do these somatic practices on my relationship to money, my scarcity wounds. And then I discovered that actually there's more to it. So as I started to excavate what was happening in my body, I couldn't not look at my ancestors. When you start looking at your money background, the first thing that happens, normally it's all in the mind, right? They ask you, like, how did your parents influence your money story and your life and your finances? And it makes sense, right? Everything is a learned behavior. So what you see your parents do, not what they tell you, you do. And we can unpack this further because I recently had this crazy realization about work, because I'm really good at being spoiled because my mom was really good at spoiling me, but she was never good at spoiling herself. So I find it really difficult to spoil myself, right? So I can receive because as a little child, I was taught that was safe. But as a little child, I wasn't taught that it was safe to give to myself. So everything, it's so intertwined. And then if we go back even further into what's living in our cellular memory, not even that, but I shared the story about my grandmas, right? They were alive. They impacted me greatly. They were hoarders. They were deep in scarcity. My grandma in Russia, she actually never threw out any food. She would eat it because it makes sense, right? I will explain why. So during World War II, St. Petersburg, then Leningrad, was blocked off. The whole city was blocked off for 3 years with no food coming in. Yeah. So they ate all cats, dogs, rats, and even one of my grandmas got kidnapped to be eaten, right? It's like famine. And they would get this much bread for the whole family. So this isn't my grandma. She was like, I could not throw out food. I know what it's like not to have food. She had such deep gratitude, but also she could not waste anything. Even if it was rotten, she would cut it out. She just couldn't waste it. And it's such a juxta because then I moved to Australia. My other grandma was also Russian, crazy lineage. Our great aunt was this wild, badass entrepreneur that moved during the World War II and then left an inheritance for my grandma. So she also had her own little things. And I think actually her mom worked in the theater. And one day during the blockade, she got some soup, like extra bonus. And she ate the soup and then nearly died because she ate too much.
Mm.
And then I'm seeing them acting that way. They're hoarding and they're just making sure there's always enough. When my grandma passed away, we were unpacking. She had cans from 15 years old, just stocking up on food. And I was wondering when I was excavating my money stuff, I was like, we've done so much work. Why am I still like this? Like this with money? Why am I so terrified? And then when I started to look into that, I'm like, of course, that makes so much sense, right? And there's even more. What's been passed down. I'm just talking about the recent experience of my family, like firsthand. I'm receiving it from them because they were looking after me as well. In Russia, the family is a huge thing. So grandparents are really in our lives. So I was getting this imprint.
Oh my gosh, what a story. And it makes so much sense that you're doing this work in the world because you have such a powerful energetic transmission around this. I love this. Thank you. Thank you for saying yes to walking this path because so many people in the world are dealing with this. And I would even say, as you said, the vast majority don't even know what's happening, right? Because this is all happening on a subconscious level. It's happening on a body level. Tell me, when did the concept of ancestral healing enter your consciousness? When did you realize this stuff can be passed down from generation to generation, but also I actually have the power to do something new, right? To start a new cycle. Because I do think sometimes on an ancestral healing journey, we can get stuck facing backwards and like looping ourselves in the trauma. And so in this work, on my show and in my practice, my goal is to empower people to really face forward and focus on what they want to create in the world, what they want to manifest. And that's why I'm like loving your work. I mean, but I love your work for like so many reasons. So when did you realize stuff can be passed down and then also I'm going to do something about it?
Yeah, great question. And you really touched upon a lot of something that people don't even know this is an issue. This is why I'm so excited to talk about it
Yeah.
because before I was pulled into it energetically, I wouldn't be looking at it. I wouldn't. And with ancestral healing, it's funny because I've known about it for so long. It's just part of self-development, but because I work with energetics, so I also look at past lives, right? That's impacting you. And then your family's lineage, like immediate imprint, and then also just epigenetically, the habits and the things in your blood and in your system. But I have a really interesting belief around ancestors, especially our soul tribe, our immediate family that we actually incarnate with on this planet. And they are soul contracts, right? And if you really look at it in a way, like until you heal your mother father wound, you're going to be projecting it, so you can't get away from it, right? You're always projecting this onto your environment, your relationships, same with your siblings. So I believe that they're soul contracts. It's not a coincidence. Whatever happened, no matter how crazy it might have been, it's like your soul's mission to actually ultimately come back to love, right? Bring forgiveness, compassion, and come back to love. And I know this conversation can be really triggering because some people I know are like, I'm never talking to my family. I don't even want to think about it. I don't want to come back to love. So I'm going to be a little controversial and I'm just like, take it or leave it. I like to use the analogy that when you're resenting someone, when you're hating someone, it's like you're drinking the poison, but hoping they would die, right? And it's really a journey for you. In the end, it's actually about you. You forgiving them is about you. It's not about them. You don't have to have them in your life, right? You can come to a place of acceptance. And I also find that, sometimes people have really, really, really horrible parents. Yeah, like they do abuse and assault and all of that. But sometimes there's just real deep miscommunication and we just make up stories. And then we're just like, yeah, they were a bad person. Or maybe there was abuse, physical abuse, but they come from a background of war. They're so deeply traumatized that that's just what they know. And maybe they didn't mean to do what they did, but that was the way. Because I know my grandma, she verbally abused me. Really, it was very traumatic. And for a very long time, I never told people because we protect our family. I didn't want to embarrass the family. And I was like, oh, it's no big deal. She never hit me. But she, from the age of 16, verbally abused, no, from the age of 8 till the age of 16, verbally abused me till I was like, yo, you can't talk to me like that. And I know that she was breaking the cycle because her mom was violent. Her mom would just break furniture and she was crazy, right? So she was breaking the cycle the way she could. And eventually, when I was able to, and this is what I teach my clients, is to actually not just reparent our own little children, but reparent their little children. And I know people have so much resistance, like, I'm not going to be my parents' parent. But when I started to relate to my grandma as her inner child, my God, we had a really love-hate relationship. She loved me, I knew it, but she was so toxic and so mean and so cruel but so loving. It was so confusing. I've been in self-development since I was 16. And then she's like, I'll see how long this lasts, And it was just like, oh my God, grandma. But actually, this worked. Relating to her inner child softened her. It brought her back to love. People say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. That is absolute bullshit. And I saw evidence of that. She changed. And I remember on her deathbed, I didn't know she was dying. I'm like, is she high on drugs? Like, what's happening? But on her deathbed, she called me and was like, Dasha, I get what you're doing and I'm so proud of you and I love you. And I was just like, what? And then later she died. She stopped talking. That touched me so deeply. I cried. She spoke to my soul and it inspires me to share this story because it really was like she took me out of her will. That was our relationship. We were bad. Mom was like, yeah, you guys weren't on a good terms. And I was like, are you serious? That's that. And we got to heal that relationship because then during COVID, I came back and I was a stand for that. And I was so grateful because then she been passed after that.
Wow. Dasha, that is an amazing story. Thank you so much for sharing that so vulnerably. And I think this is, proof in a way that when we pour into ourselves as female bodied beings, when we do our healing work, it actually can uplift everyone around us, which goes against what so many of us are taught, but especially female bodied beings, that pouring into yourself, spoiling yourself is selfish, right? So I love that story. That's very moving. I can totally relate in terms of having this person that you felt like was so stuck in her upbringing and her own thoughts and beliefs to see you on her deathbed before she transitioned to be like, I get it now. Yeah, that's a huge deal. So I just appreciate you so much for sharing that story. And I do think it gives hope to other people who think that, oh, this relationship is doomed, right? This relationship is done forever, because there can be turnarounds. There can be,
100%.
if you're open to them, right? If you're blocked,
Yeah.
like this will never happen, then you won't have those healings. But if you're open, right, you're not attached to it
Exactly.
happening, my gosh, miracles can
Yeah.
happen, magic can happen. So, yeah,
I want
that's
to
really
add
beautiful.
that. Yeah, thank you. And I want to add that it takes time sometimes. It's not going to
Yeah.
be instant and you're going to fall flat on your face. Like with my grandma, I would try since 16. I tried to heal that relationship. And it wasn't until I was 29, I think, that it finally healed, or 28. Right. So since 16, I was falling flat, trying, and she was whatever, but I knew she loved me. And I think it's coming back to understanding what is their love language, because hers was
Yeah.
acts of service and it was just undeniable, and gift giving and being able to receive the love, and then coming back to compassion and love. And this is just everything with the ancestral healing, because you have to do it for yourself first, love and compassion, and then for your ancestors, whether they're alive or not. That is the secret source. You can't blame them. It could be really like, my God, I could have been in my victim and blaming her and blaming my family for my scarcity. But instead, I was like, okay, great. This is what's happening. I'm so happy for the awareness. And now I'm going to do the healing, not just for me, but for my future ancestors, for my family, my children, and for my past ancestors, So, yeah.
Oh my gosh, Dasha, you have so much embodied wisdom to share for people around this topic. Ugh, I'm so happy that we're talking, because we're so on the same wavelength about this. And I 100% agree. When you are locked into not forgiving somebody in your family, you are drinking the poison and expecting them to die, right? And the forgiveness work is for yourself so that you can release that energy. And I do think that people get addicted to victimhood. You can become addicted to anything, substances, food, la la la. I think some people are straight up addicted to being the victim. And I think your message, your life, your work is really empowering people to release themselves, to liberate yourself, because it's like a self-imposed prison, right?
It
Oh my
is.
gosh.
And I know not everyone is ready, because I know this can be very triggering and hard to hear, but it's really baby steps, really baby steps, and just keep coming back. And I know this, you touched upon this, it's so hard for people to actually do things for themselves, but you can't give from an empty cup. I love the metaphor of putting an oxygen mask on you first and then helping everyone else. So do it for yourself. Be freaking selfish and forgive these assholes for you. Liberate yourself. And then who knows what will happen? Maybe they'll
Right.
become these miracle parents that have an awakening. I've heard this as well. I've seen from both sides, and because I have been in self-development 16, and I've seen this, like, what the work I was part of at the beginning was all about family, right? My God, this is why I'm so passionate. And then I've seen the parents wanting to have this connection with their children, with their grandchildren, but not knowing how to communicate or be around the child. And they're like, stop trying to interfere with my family. And then they just want to see the grandbaby, but they get angry and they don't feel validated. So it's like, oh my God, if you just come back to love, and compassion, everything will kind of unfold around you. Yeah, I'm really passionate about this.
Well, I can tell, and thank God you are, because this work is so needed in the world. And I love your energy around this. This is awesome. All right. Well, so you said that you've been in personal development since the age of 16. How long have you been doing this work? Right, as this vision doula. Tell me the story of how you became Miss Dasha. I have to know. Did you come out of the womb like this?
Yeah, I think so, but I didn't know it, right? I think so. And I love this story because I was so not who I am now. And it's such an inspirational story. At 16, I fell into self development thanks to my mom's really toxic breakup. And also, I'm breaking my generational trauma around not just money, not just everything else, but dating. My mom's mom was a single mom. My mom was a single mom. And I am killing it in dating. And I'm going to have the most loving husband
Yes.
and just the most incredible family. But again, if we're talking about ancestral, intergenerational, it's impacting everything because it's all a learned behavior. Side note, it just came up because of this toxic breakup. She was depressed AF. And then someone was like, hey, you should do this thing. And then she brought me. And then I was like, no thanks, because I was a teenager. And then this woman who literally, I call her my angel, her name is Angela, she got me to do it. She's like, we'll help you decide what you want to do. I was in year 11 or 12, right? And I had no idea what I wanted to do. And because of this, I actually studied psychology because I was like, I'm so fascinated by how people think. So I ended up studying psych, and they taught us magic. They taught us manifestation, but it was so white collar that it was so like, you're creating a possibility and then you're enrolling everyone into it and then it will happen. Not like the field, right?
Mhm.
So I, at the age of 16, already knew that anything was possible. Like I believed it. I was like, anything is possible. But I was still in a box of society of like, anything is possible. I can have the coolest car and the best job and the biggest house. Yeah. It wasn't until I started traveling and I caught a travel bug because my mom lived in Australia. Me and grandma, mom, my whole other family, my dad, he then remarried, had two kids, and my grandma lived in Russia. So we would meet halfway in Vietnam. My dad was a kite surfer. So I was traveling by myself on an airplane at the age of 16. And then by 18, I brought my friends to Vietnam and we had our first solo adventure for Southeast Asia, and I was hooked. So then I discovered travel and I was studying, and then anytime I could travel, I was traveling. As soon as I got my exam results, I was like, book my flights, like, let's go. And I've been to 55 countries now. I
Wow.
caught it bad, yeah. And it opened the world to me, like what was possible. Connected me to the love for humanity, people, culture, animals, nature. And every time I would come back, I would be trapped back in the rat race. And I'd be like, oh my God, I need to get a real job. I need to get a husband. I need to do the thing everyone's doing. And then it just never felt right. And I realized, like, wait a second. No, I don't. I don't have to do any of that. That's brainwashing. So then I found my purpose. Yeah. I was like, I found my purpose. It's to empower women to have self love and orgasms. And then I was like, okay, Tantra, that's my next thing. So I was looking at Tantra in India and there was some seedy things. Thank God I didn't go there. And then I discovered this shamanic tantric retreat. And then there was also a Tantra festival in Byron Bay, which is full circle moment. I just got invited to facilitate there. So it's so magical. And it was where it all began. So I was looking for a mentor, and then it started to open my mystical. So also at some point I became a yoga teacher, right? Because I like the spiritual side, and that opened me to spirituality. And then Angela was living in a tree house in Guatemala. And she was like, come visit me. And I was like, yes, I will. By the time I got there, she was gone, but she sent me a little roadmap and I saw my first shaman who predicted my future. He told me that in 5 years' time, I'll be healing people through the internet. I freaked the F out. This was before I even believed in any of that stuff. I was like, whoa, telepathy, like through the computer? Are you serious? This is crazy. So this was like 8 years ago, right? So that was bizarro. And I remember just freaking out, going from the spiritual side of like Land to the party side. and just partying. That's what I do. I just drink myself, like party, ignore. Even though I wanted to transform the world at 16, I was like, I want to transform the world. And then I studied psychology, and then it kind of got lost. And then I wanted to transform it, but in a white collar way, not in the crazy woo woo way. Like that was just weird. But I remember I did some energy healing and they guessed where I was sending it, and it just freaked me out. So then I had to shut it down for a little bit. And then I fell into Tantra and shamanism. And then I did this workshop that I thought was a normal workshop with white collar people. Again, I love the white collar workshops because they show me that miracles are real. If it was full of hippies, I'd be like, yeah, whatever. But we're all reading each other's mind. We all started reading each other's mind. And I was like, what? So then I hired the guy as my mentor, this alchemist who mentored me. And at this point, I was already starting my business and I decided I wanted to have freedom. So I started my online business in self-development. It was a conscious self-development company. And that was kind of it. And then I just followed the threads and it just grew. And I just dived into somatics and trauma healing. And then for Layla Martin's work. And yeah, it's just more things. And Taoism and Tantra, because her work is based on Taoism and Tantra. So I went and studied with Mantak Chia and Mananda Sarita, and I did the biodynamic trauma release system breathwork facilitated training. So I love Layla's work, the Vita methodology, and I just followed all her teachers everywhere she went. I even met Margot Anand when I was in India in Pune.
Wow.
It was insane, like literally crazy. So I love learning. I love learning. So yeah, that was my path, just collecting things. And then because I'm intuitive, it was like, start the mystery school. Start the mystery school. The time is now. I'm like, I'm 30. Are you serious? Like, no, it's not. I need to be like 50. Who am I to start a mystery school at 30? What do I even know? But I have lived so many lives and I know, I freaking know. And I just did it. And the universe supported me. And that's what happens. This is how I coach my clients because I always had this gift of seeing people's purposes. And now I fine tuned it. Okay, I have the gift. I'm a freaking psychic. And before that, I literally thought psychics were charlatans. I was like, they're full of shit. Who would go see a tarot reader? What the hell did they know? And now I'm full on psychic. So I love this story because whatever we resist persists. And most likely the thing you reject most is going to be your mission and your purpose. And I help my clients to tap into their missions and purposes. This is why I call myself a vision doula. And we really birth it. And then once you do it, the universe supports you. You are on the wave. You're riding the wave. Once you get on the wave, you are surfing it. You're no longer flapping around.
Goodness. Dasha, I had no idea you studied with all of these amazing teachers. So this is awesome. I love learning about your life adventures, and I think it's going to be really cool for people to hear your story of all of your travels and the different things you've studied and the cool things you're doing. And so you are very psychic. Your astrology chart absolutely reveals that. Anybody looking at it would say that. So I actually want to transition our conversation into some astrology. Are you ready, girl?
I'm so ready. Let's go. Let's freaking go.
So, for those of you who are unfamiliar with my work, I'm an ancestral healing guide and also a diversity and inclusion practitioner and consultant and trainer. But astrology is really my passion along with ancestral healing. And so, inspired by my own ancestral healing journey, I created the Ancestral Healing Collective, which is a sacred space for female bodied cycle breakers and cycle starters to alchemize deep ancestral wounds into creative potential, shifts to higher consciousness, embodied joy, as well as spiritual gifts with pleasure and astrology as transformative medicine. Each month, we have a new moon pleasure practice and dance party. We've incorporated sound healing into these events as well. And I have a guest teacher every month as well. And Dasha, I would love for you to be a guest teacher sometime next year. Yeah, that would be amazing. The way I relate to astrology is that it is a tool. It's not the rule. I don't live and die by it, but I do feel like it's an incredible language and framework for not only understanding yourself as an energetic being, but empowering yourself as an energetic being, especially on an ancestral healing journey. And pleasure is folded into this because pleasure is what sustains you on this journey. It is the fuel that, sustains you. And I also feel like I'm breaking my own ancestral cycles and patterns around,
Oh my God, yeah.
recoding my relationship with pleasure as like, oh, this is my power. I don't need anyone's permission to experience pleasure. And so, yeah, we're pouring into ourselves because, as you've talked about, not everybody's going to do this work in this life because it's very triggering and it's very confronting. And for some people, that's not their soul's journey in this incarnation. So
Mhm.
I do feel like the pleasure helps to balance out a lot of the trauma healing that we have to do because literally for me, tapping into the unprocessed grief and sadness of my lineage was physically painful. And I think if I didn't have that framework of understanding what was happening, God knows what would have happened. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
this path is not for everybody, right? So I don't judge people who are like, I'm not doing that, right? Because it's confronting and it's triggering. But I do believe that people like you and me, we signed up, we came here for this. And
Oh
so
yeah.
I want to talk about your amazing chart. So you said that you're double Scorpio, right? Your sun in Virgo, Scorpio rising, and Scorpio moon. Girl. Okay, so you are incredibly psychic and intuitive. All of the water signs are. Scorpio is fixed water. Water is our emotions, our feelings, our sentiments. And this is like deep water. This is like the deep ocean. And so the high expression of Scorpio is deep emotional sensitivity balanced with logic, right? You're not ruled by your emotions because you feel so deeply. You feel everything. You're incredibly sensitive. You're also, obsessed with the truth, people telling
Mm.
you the truth and getting to the bottom of things. And so I love that you studied psychology in school because people with a strong Scorpio presence in their chart, it's like they were born with a PhD in psychology, right? It was just in your DNA, it was in your cells. You're like, oh, the human mind, this is fascinating. So I love that you just went there, but it was natural for you. I think it was just where your energy was going and it's like how you were designed. And each has like a high expression and a low expression. It's a spectrum. So, you know, I really appreciate how Scorpio wants to get to the bottom of things. They love to do their research. They have a very strong BS detector. They know when somebody's bullshitting them. And you're not afraid to get dirty. I always share the analogy of that person who's in their kitchen and they smell something funky. The Scorpio will put on the hazmat suit and the mask and get the flashlight and tear up the floorboards and go into the foundation and figure out what it is. They're just not afraid. Whereas people who don't have a strong Scorpio presence, they're not into that. And so I think it can be frustrating for somebody who has a lot of Scorpio energy to deal with people who aren't as willing to go deep like you do, because this is your special sauce. And also, Scorpio is about deep transformation. And Scorpio is about death and rebirth, right? The phoenix rising from the ashes. And I think it's so interesting that your sun is in Virgo, but your moon is in Scorpio and your rising is Scorpio. So the moon is your emotions, your ancestral wounds, but also the gifts that your ancestors have given you. And it also tells us what you're responsible for giving to yourself in order to feel at home and centered in your own energy. The light side of that is that you have like profound emotional depth, resilience, and the power to transform pain into wisdom. 100%. You're doing this and you're really like committed to uncovering truths and healing at the deepest level. And then some of the wounds around this are control issues, jealousy, and then fear of vulnerability, deep fears that like rule you. And also Scorpio is super intense. You have like a life of intensity. And also your moon is at 27 degrees Scorpio. Your rising is 25 degrees Scorpio. So that's the third decan of the spectrum of scorpionic energy. So that decan is actually, it's very Cancerian. It has a Cancerian sort of tinge to it. So there's mothering, sort of nurturing energy to your psychic and intuitive abilities and the depth that you're able to go to, which makes sense because you have clients, right? You have a practice, you have a mystery school, right? You're creating a beautiful space for people to transform. And I think that it's just natural for you. So yeah, you're super psychic and intuitive. And that last deacon is also very much about spirituality and like, hello, you have a mystery school. The rising sign is the vehicle for your divine mission. And it's your perception of reality, the energies that people first pick up on when they meet you, right? So they sense your depth. And also Scorpio is very sexy. There's that too. You know, what can we say about that? But it's so funny. Sometimes the rising sign is in the shadow for people. They're not conscious of how they come off. Like the sun is how you see yourself, and your sun is in Virgo. So I'm moon in Virgo, so I can relate to this. But Virgo is totally different energy. It's mutable earth. It's the most intellectual of all the earth signs. Earth is what we use to build the structures that give us security and stability in our lives. And it's very organized. It's very precise. Also 27 degrees Virgo. So like high degrees of Virgo. So the archetypal energy I associate with Virgo is that discerning herbalist. It's also the virgin, but it's not the woman that abstains from sex. It's the woman who is complete unto herself and doesn't seek wisdom outside of herself. She goes within for wisdom. So this is where you shine. So, I mean, is any of this landing for you? Does this resonate at all? I'm so curious.
Yeah, I'm nodding. I'm laughing. I'm like the vulnerability piece. I didn't know that was a Scorpio thing. Yeah, that's been a big journey. Letting people see I'm weak. It's like it took a lot to actually allow people in. It's like if something happens to me, I have to go do my work. I come back stronger than ever. But now I'm actually like, okay, that hurt me. I'm gonna tell you hurt me. I can be hurt by you.
Huh. My goodness. All right. Well, so we got to talk about your galactic astrology. So, galactic astrology is so fascinating. It reveals for you that you're not only deeply connected to ancient healing wisdom, but you're also here to lead and influence others with your presence, your voice, and your truth. So, your sun in Virgo and your midheaven are aligned with the supergalactic center. So that acts for you as like a spiritual motherboard. It's like a cosmic GPS for your soul mission. And so your life purpose is driven by something far greater than what you actually have words for. It's like hard to put it into words. And you're here to embody higher truth and help others reconnect with their divine path, especially in these times of collective confusion. So, there are certain life themes that we can identify when we're looking at a galactic chart. And there's the first one is like the healer, dense energy transmuter. Teal Swan is one of those people that has that chart. Then there's the teacher, guide, speaker, influencer. Tony Robbins has that chart. And then there's the innovator, inventor. Nikola Tesla has that kind of chart. Henry Ford has that chart. And then there's the galactic ambassador that has basically almost everything in there because we're looking for the super cosmic points like the galactic center, the super galactic center, the great attractor, which is even bigger, and then the Shapley attractor, which like scientists still don't know how to describe it. They're still trying to learn about what it is, but it acts like a black hole. So You, my dear, have the healer dense energy transmuter life theme in your chart, but you also have the speaker guide, teacher, influencer, and you're a galactic ambassador. It's amazing. So you have deep connections to Algol, Fard, and Procyon, which are stars that are associated with intuitive power, alchemy, and esoteric wisdom. And so, what this says is that you've likely carried very heavy emotional or ancestral imprints in this life. Hello. But your
Hello.
soul is equipped to transmute that density into healing codes for yourself and others. You're totally doing this already. And then your visibility, your Mercury is has a relationship with Algorab and Rigel or Rigel, which shows that your words are meant to cut through illusions, challenge old paradigms, and uplift others. So you're not here to be agreeable and play along with everybody. You're here to be impactful. Hello, right?
Hello.
So you have multiple connections to the four royal stars, super cosmic points, healing stars. You are definitely a galactic ambassador. So that's somebody whose soul has incarnated across different star systems, and now you're serving as a bridge between those realms and the earth. And so you might feel like an old soul, but you're also a futurist, right? I mean, we've been talking about that. So you're here to guide others through the chaos and into a new way of being. So the bottom line is like you're channeling ancient medicine through a modern voice. You're leading with compassion, but also fire, and to remind others that transformation isn't just possible, it's who they really are. So, yeah. Dasha, you're a galactic ambassador. I mean, you have so many points like in your chart. Like every planet has an aspect to star systems, which is not the case with everybody, just so you know. How is this landing for you?
I'm feeling like I'm getting soul massage right now. I'm in such
Good.
a trance. My womb's very activated. I feel very relaxed. I feel hypnotized by your words, um, on a feeling level. And on like the mental level, it's like, duh. And I also have this like crazy dream, right? That I'm going to become a household name and I'm going to make consent and magic mainstream. And like you telling me this, it's like, oh, maybe I will.
Yeah.
Maybe I will.
Yes. Yes. I love it. This is awesome. Not everybody has all of these things. I mean, having your sun conjunct the supergalactic center, I think, is a really big deal because the sun is where you shine. And the supergalactic center is in, I think it's in the early degrees of Libra, but because it's so big and so powerful, it has a big orb. Well, I want to hear now about your current projects. Like, what are you excited about now that you can share with us?
Yeah, wow. Whoever's watching this, they're just gonna be like, what the fuck just happened? What is happening? I'm obsessed with this episode. Honestly, this is the coolest interview I've ever had. I'm already being like, okay, so I'm gonna put it out and be like, if you're thinking of working with me, this is the episode to watch. Like, stars don't lie. So, something that I'm currently birthing and working on and obsessed with is my money magic course. Yeah. So, we already started to uncover a little bit about money trauma, but this is something that's been birthing through me. And how I work is actually I go to different places in the world and I channel the freaking energy of the place and create from there. And I don't just channel in the Peru, like Sacred Valley, which I did. I was there for a while before this trip, but I get pulled to different places. I was just in the south of Italy, and really that was the time I had a really beautiful Airbnb, and it was time of luxury, and actually like the embodiment of the energy of money, which when you look into it, if you believe in oneness, yeah, we live in duality, 3D, 5D. We're living in everything at once, but you are it. So if you're rejecting parts, like rejecting sex, rejecting power, rejecting money, these are parts of you that you're actually rejecting. And secretly, you actually want to do that, right? Because you actually are afraid of your power. So you're like, how can I disempower myself this way? You're doing it on the subconscious level, but you're actually doing this to yourself. I'm sorry to break it to you, some truth bombs. So the more you reject these things, the more you're like, yes, don't have to step into my full power. It feels easier. It feels better for your parts. It feels safer to keep you small. And the way your parts work, they really want to keep you safe to the point where they will go to suicidal ideation, bulimia. They don't care. There are parts that are like, no, we just have to protect this person. So it's a journey. If you have a big mission, and I work with healers, change makers, and thought leaders, because at 16, I was like, I want to transform the world. And then when I first started my first course, which was called The Unspoken, all about taboo, of course, and self love and excavating, it was literally meeting your deepest edge. You know, it was like literally, like, couldn't be, it
Scorpio.
was, yeah, it was so channeled. So of course, it was my first channel thing. This is when my channel opened, so it makes sense. But this is the journey. It's like doing that inner work. Doing that inner work actually, I realized, like, channeling that and getting people to do it, I was like, oh my God, it's going to take me forever to transform the world, one course, person at a time. I'm like, I need to work with healers, change makers, and thought leaders, because then I need to make them do the work. You know, we need to exponentially ripple out.
Yeah.
It's not just me. So then I started working with healers, change makers, and thought leaders and motivating them and inspiring them. And I come from a conscious community, right? I was brainwashed that money is evil, that I shouldn't charge for my gifts. But then it's like, okay, so you don't make money from your soul work, from the thing for your life force energy. Instead, you go and work for a corporation that's killing the planet, and then you have zero energy to actually do the thing that is making a difference in the world. How does that even make sense? So I had to unlearn a lot. And then once I dived into the somatic way of approaching money and I started working with people one on one, I realized, oh my God, it is not about the money at all. It's about freedom. And it's actually about the projection that we put onto money. It's using money as a scapegoat for everything. So instead of actually taking responsibility, you're like, oh, I can't afford it. I can't do this because of money. It's like, no, 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 no. You can't do it because of your priorities, right? It's like we all have this. And yeah, also there's the perspective of privilege. Yeah. And we're talking to people quite high privilege, right? If you're drawn to this conversation, you have high privilege. And I'm talking to you because you have high privilege, use it. Yeah, there's other people that cannot. So actually, I'm going to go there. It's your responsibility to actually reclaim your power and make a difference, so then you can support people that cannot. And yes, you don't have to do anything, but when you actually understand the energetics of money and the energy of abundance, you understand it's all overflow, that you have more than enough, that you can actually spread it. You can spread it far and wide, and you can help people. You can help charities. You can have retreat centers all over the world. You can support your family. This is the energy. And the work I do, it's not about giving you a spreadsheet of how to make more money. Like, ask ChatGPT. You can get that anywhere. It's about the deep, profound work that no one talks about. Healing the trauma, yes, but it's even more than that. It's the energetics. It is the energetics that people like, oh yeah, that doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work if you're out of alignment. If you're being like, I'm gonna be a millionaire, and you say it once and you're like, I love money, but then secretly you're walking around like, I can't afford this, I can't afford this, I'm not gonna get that. Oh, judging and saying, how is she to charge that much? She's asking for money. There's a incoherence. Yeah, no wonder energetics isn't working. You have to be squeaky clean. You have to be in total alignment. Like, the thing is, you are such a powerful manifester. You're manifesting 24/7. And when you get everything you want, it's just subconscious, right? You're getting everything you want, but your subconscious is running the show. So if you're creating chaos into your life, you secretly want it. If you're creating bankruptcy into your life, you secretly want it. If you create scarcity, you secretly want it. And I can tell you on a soul level, if we're talking about my families, if you're like, oh yeah, did your family want secretly live in famine? No, but their soul did. Their soul chose that path. That was part of the evolution. All the horrible things that happened to me in my life, I chose it. I chose it to create a more interesting experience on this planet Earth. Yeah, it's all part of this game, I like to say. And then these are the cheat codes, and I teach them. So instead of humaning, yeah, instead of doing slow things through the game, you're magicking. You have all the cheat codes, the fast action. So this is magic money. It's going to take you on a journey of healing your relationship to money, actually understanding that it's an entity. And the cool thing is, I did this practice that I teach in module 1 of this course with so many different people, and the energy of money always shows up the same. It's different, but it's the same. It was so bizarre. I was like, my God. So it is an entity. It is an energy. I've seen it. So you get to connect to it. You get to heal that relationship. You reclaim your power. You take your power back instead of exchanging it for victim coins. And then we dive deeper. We dive into the energetics. We dive into healing your ancestral trauma. We dive into healing this inner child trauma. And then we look at abundance, and we look at the liminal, because the thing that people link together and project onto and have such deep scarcity is time and money. People think that it's finite. They don't understand that actually you can warp both. You can warp and mold, and it's unlimited. And wherever you are on this journey, I remember hearing this stuff and being like, delete, not for me. So I've been there. I get it. So wherever you are now, maybe this resonates, maybe it doesn't. And if it's calling you, even if you're like, I'm curious, gonna stalk her a little bit, come play. I hold an energy frequency and energy field. So this is what's happening right now. We start in September. You can probably sneak in October. Reach out. I also have a mystery school, which is changing a lot. So you can reach out if you're wanting to work with me one-on-one, because part of the mystery school right now, you have 2 one-on-one sessions with me, 1 group, and then you get all the courses, the whole curriculum. So there's things around conscious sales, because you need to understand how to sell your vision mission. You need to sell. It's like you need to sell yourself in dating, in partnership. You need to sell yourself for investors. Even if you don't want to sell to people, you need someone to fund you, right? So understanding how to sell in a consensual, trauma-informed way, crazy. It's real. And then we have a course around the unspoken, have a course creation where I teach you how to birth courses, not just create them, because as an intuitive, embodied, psychic being, you're birthing it, you're feeling it, you're moving through it, you're living it as you're creating it, as you're writing it, as you're launching it, as you're running it. It's moving through you constantly. It's a living entity, right? And having a support around that, because I know a lot of the time people are like, oh my God, I'm a relationship coach and my relationship is going to shit. I know I had like a crazy money rexic relapse during the launch of this course, and I was like, what's happening? But it's part of it. This is what happens when you're full embodied in your work. You're going to be living it, so then you can teach from a very embodied and very relevant way. So you can be like story, so people are like, oh, that's me, I feel good, instead of like seeing you on a pedestal being like, oh, you're perfect, I could never get there. It's like, no, don't worry, I'm the same. I'm human too. So there's a lot to plug into. I have a big vision, big mission for the school, for what we're creating. So yeah, I'd love to have you there.
My gosh, Dasha, this is amazing. You're doing so much. You are definitely living out your galactic mission in this life. This is awesome. Thank you for saying yes to walking this path and doing this work. If people want to learn more, if they want to work with you, they want to find out about all of your offerings, where should they go?
So my Instagram is I am Dasha Barsukova. I am Dasha, Dasha, Barsukova, Barsukova. My website is www.dashabarsukova.com. You can kind of look, there's lots of free stuff on the Instagram. There's the link tree and there's lots of free things. You can join my Facebook group. There's lots of free trainings. You can also friend me on Facebook. I write a lot. I'm a Facebooker. I really love just long form, what's on my heart, content. And then I'm starting a YouTube channel as well. So where you can plug in and
Nice.
get transmissions. Yeah. So then the intention for the YouTube is something I couldn't find. When I'm not feeling good, I just need to get a transmission of something on a topic. And now I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to channel it and do it for myself and for others.
Yes, I love this. No, you belong on camera. You're great on camera. You have just contagious energy and you're effervescent. So I love it. Well, so I have one last question for you that I ask all of my guests. And I know that this has probably been woven into everything that we've talked about. But if you had to put a fine point on it, what are the cycles that you're starting in this incarnation, in your lineages?
Because the mission of Shkoda is magic and consent. These are the cycles making magic and consent mainstream. Imagine living in the world where consent is mainstream. Oh my God. Imagine walking just on the street where magic and consent is mainstream. Wow. Like, whoa. There's so much, but I think this.
I love it. Dasha, this has been absolutely fabulous. Thank you so much for being in dialogue with me. This has been very exciting, inspiring, enlightening. Yeah, I just love the work that you're doing, and I'm sending you big hugs. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This has been really, really fun. It's been wonderful spending time with you.
You're so sweet. Thank you so much for your generosity, for having me on, and thank you for sharing the beautiful wisdom about the galactic astrology and just, yeah, thank you. I feel so much love and support from you and just really feel inspired by the work you're doing and the what you talked about, the monthly sessions that you're doing. And yeah, what a gift. Thank you. Thank you so much. What an honor and pleasure. Yeah, deeply grateful for you, for the listeners, and everyone that gets touched by this.
Beautiful. All right, everybody. That's it for this episode of the Cycle Starters podcast. We will see you next time. Take care. Bye, Dasha. Bye, everybody.